Good morning, Breakfast Club family. This is Mark Stevens, your co-host with your host, Joe Shoup. Welcome to the Breakfast Club radio broadcast. Today is the 27th of June, 2017. We got a great show for you today, and we're going to get right into it. So, Joe, how you doing this morning?
I am fantastic and amazing. Thank you for asking. How about you?
I am phenomenal. Heading to infinity today. Got some great things. So I'm going to get right into the program. So I'll just turn it over to you and let's get started.
All right. Well, let's we're going to have this continued education here on what it is that a person should be doing. And Mark, over these years, it's been over 20 years for us apiece. We've got, between the two of us, we're looking at 40-some years of experience working in the home business arena. And what puzzles me, I've been thinking about this while we're doing this PowerPoint today, and so let me bring that up and I guess share my screen and we can talk so we can go into that. But what puzzles me, Mark, is that the companies, you can see my screen.
Yes, I see.
Purposes only.
No. Let me turn that off. I don't know why that. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that, Mark. Don't know what happened there, but it looks like we're. Can you still hear me, Mark?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm still hearing you.
I don't know why that voice is on, but it looks like I shut it off now. I don't know how that happened. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Huh. Oh, well. Anyway, I might have to do this without the slides. I don't know why that voice is coming across here. Well, anyway, what puzzles me is that I see... We know this is true. We say this all the time. 98% of the people that go into a home business arena make little or no money. Just about enough sometimes to pay for the products. And I mean, that's a massive, massive number. 98 out of 100 people just are not satisfied, and they keep trying and trying and trying, right?
That's correct.
And the thing that puzzles me is the companies and the so-called teachers, gurus, they keep teaching the same thing. They just keep saying, they go to a new company and they keep saying, well, just do this, and then call everybody, and then the people don't do it. The people just do not do it. They just, when I say don't do it, they're not successful. They do a few of the things, they make phone calls, and all of a sudden they're down to zero again. And the biggest thing is the industry keeps teaching the same thing, and what we teach is to make a change in the way you're operating your business. And it all starts with a brand new person and onboarding that person, meaning bringing them aboard properly. And most people don't know how to do that because they just have learned so many bad habits and procedures and processes that they really don't know how to get the person started. And, they may tell them, they may tell them that it's their fault, that they need to get bigger lists. Yeah, it's true. We do need lists. I think most people struggle with the contact lists, and it does begin there, of course. Making sure that they have people to talk to. But the bottom line, the industry still is continuing to tell them to do the same thing over and over again that got little or no results. So I know you like to comment on that stuff. So while I look around at these slides, let's talk about that, because we're going to talk about onboarding today. What does it really mean to onboard somebody? What do you need to do? So you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm getting calls. Apparently, I'm going to make sure that we're not getting anybody trying to get in and they can't hear us. So what I'm going to ask Shirley to do is to let us know. And Shirley, you can open up your microphone and tell us if we're having, or people are having trouble, because I'm getting Skypes telling me we are, or at least trying to notify us. Shirley?
I hear you, Joe, but I can't hear Shirley.
Yeah.
And so in the event that some people are hearing us, I'll say this. I have a new definition for guru. A lot of people call themselves guru and leaders. Guru, to me, nowadays seems to be getting you readily useless. That's what they make you do. Because the only thing they really know, basically, it seems these days, is just about them and themselves. They don't even know anything about onboarding. They don't know anything about doing right by the people, because everything is focused on them. And that's why they call themselves a guru. So what I'm saying is that one that goes into business today, whether it's brick and mortar, online, or both, they have to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And there are procedures to that. And I'll even go to the document that you'll spend over 25 hours putting together, and it's out to everybody. And in there are 10 things you need to be doing. You need to address those 10 things. They're in red, they're very plain, and that's what you need to be doing. That's a good part of it. There are other things as well, and I know you're going to cover some things today, but it's all encompassed into the way that we do business if you're going to be successful. If you're not going to follow it, if you're not going to take the time to read it, implement it, or whatever, then you're, again, as you say, be careful in the direction that you're headed, because you may end up there. So, again, it's how you want to run your business. It's a business. It's not a hobby. People have to understand that.
Yeah, let me give you an example. Last couple of days, we have this document now, a welcome document, a getting started document, and it is a step-by-step process. The way to utilize this is to take the first set of direction, look at it, stop, go perform the task, put a check mark on it, and go to the next one. Now, I had a minimum of 5 people in the last couple of days have problems because they didn't do that. They didn't read and check off the next step. Do this. Go to your back office. Check. Click on finance. Check. I had phone calls that actually disturbed probably an hour's worth of my time, maybe more, because people weren't reading. People that are very capable of reading, but are not paying attention or not following a procedure, instead getting mixed up, doing the wrong thing, pushing the wrong button, and then say, well, it doesn't work. It didn't do this for me. It is a little annoying, because, you know, then those people depend on a phone call to me, you, or somebody else to try to straighten it out. And it's not fair, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you know what, Joe? I had someone come in, somebody new, sent them a document, told them to follow this document from A to Z, and they followed it. Everything went perfect. They got in Power of Three, went right over the 7 rings. They're doing business as we speak.
Yeah, wow.
It's not hard. It's not hard. It's not.
Right. I'm going to try to move this thing forward, and hopefully I can pause it. But apparently, this document has sound to it, and I didn't know that. So we're going to try.
For educational purposes
yes,
only.
It is.
No part of this publication may. For educational
now, let me see if I can stop
no
this
part
now.
of this publication.
Okay, so we
on the first part of it, and then
there you go. So maybe I should read that. So let's go back.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's let them hear this. For some reason we don't have the sound now. It's okay.
For educational purposes only. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form without the prior written permission of Joseph Shoup and Associates. And what you're about to hear is a live presentation from a series of classes entitled The Networking Communication for Educational Purposes Only.
All right, there we go.
Part of this public.
There we go. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is the onboarding process. Now, in your document, there are 10 steps to follow in business. But we're talking now about a practices that actually work. So here's what we're going to cover. Number one is you have to create a clear and formal plan for your program. Now, the company has one for us. We have a plan, and you have it in your hands. And if you don't, the way to get it is Shirley or Colleen will type it in the box and tell you how to get it. The way to get it is the Breakfast Club broadcast at gmail.com. The THE Breakfast Club broadcast at gmail.com. Okay, so after you create a clear plan of action, the second part of it is engagement. The third step is ongoing education. And this, Mark, to me, is the key to it all. The proper and ongoing education. Best practices to perform, and then a follow-up. So let's take a look at this. I think I probably said this in the notice. Gone are the days when welcoming a new member meant handing over a folder with the company goals, a job performance checklist, orientation paperwork. Yes, we've given you a welcome document to get you started. But member orientation now is redefined as member onboarding. It's no longer just one event, right? It's an ongoing process. And it goes on for the length of time the member is active. What does that really mean? If you're a new member and you brought a new member, obviously you can't be their boss, you can't be their guide. You can just guide them to someone else. Which is why one of the most important keys is to introduce your people to someone who knows what they're doing. A lot of people don't want to give that up. A well-planned and well-executed onboarding process will increase the chances for a positive experience. 54% of organizations see greater new member productivity, 50% higher retention rates for new members when they have a standardized onboarding process in place. And again, you have that right in your getting started or welcome document. Let's look at this again. This is up-to-date stuff, Mark. mean, I don't make this stuff up. Sometimes we add stuff in here, but these are taken from processes, onboarding, companies who are onboarding properly. Training and support play a large role. Are your people getting to the training? Do they get to the breakfast club? Do they get to the calls during the week? Do they get to the edge? Are you introducing them to give them confidence and motivation and a feeling of belonging to the company? I can't stress that enough about introducing your people to someone and making them feel part of it. One or two people. You know, Mark, Roland has joined us, as you know, and I'm getting the introductions all over again. It's what he does. Putting his people in and getting a phone call. I don't think there's anybody that you haven't met, probably, most of them.
Hey, he's following the script, as we say. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Look, an effective strategy is critical in helping members achieve their business goals, and it contributes to the bottom line of the company. Our job, ultimately, the bottom line of our job is to make sure this company, any company you are with, is progressing, not just surviving, but getting ahead. That's our job, because without that, we don't have any income for ourselves or others. So our work, or the company, is dependent upon our work. And according to Equifax, 40% of employees, we'll use that word because this is, again, a major company, who left their jobs voluntarily in 2013 did so within 6 months of starting. Now, does that sound familiar, Mark, in our industry?
Yes, sir, it does. Very familiar.
And another study, British Columbia Human Resource Management, shows that 30% in the first 3 months are gone. 30%. You hire 100, 30 of them are gone. You bring 100 members in within 6 months, first 3 months, 30 of them out of those 100 are doing something else. A balance of immediate and ongoing engagement and support are the key drivers for laying the groundwork in a successful onboarding process. A balance of ongoing engagement. You as the person, the sponsor, the member, the partner, can't forget about the people. So we know these facts here. I mean, we're seeing this over and over and over again. Member retention, performance, and member satisfaction all depends on effective onboarding. It creates an encouraging, upbeat environment, clear indicators of how new members should fit in and contribute. I mean, are we really doing that in this industry? This is why I led off with what the industry is doing. They're not teaching this kind of stuff. So we're going to look at the 5 steps for creating a successful onboarding process. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to help improve everyone if you follow the plan. So this is what should happen. Number 1, you have a clear and formal plan. And it says, best-in-class organizations are more likely to have a formal and comprehensive onboarding program in place that goes above and beyond basic member orientation and informal procedures. Formal onboarding programs should outline and train the new members for activities during the first few days, weeks, months of employment. And let's call that of membership. Outline and train the new members for activities. Why do you think that we spent so much time putting together a getting started? Now, it's not new, as Mark knows. It's funny what he said to me the other day, but we write new getting started manuals when we get to a new company or decide to take on another project. the reason we do it is the companies don't have those kinds of things in place. They need people who are skilled to get that stuff done. I think companies kind of forget that sometimes, that we definitely need these kinds of things. I usually volunteer to write the thing out. Then, thanks to Teresa Hutchison, Vicky Cruz, the main people who supported this activity of getting this done, they're the two main people who did it. And we had some other people proofreading a little bit, but most of it was Teresa and then Vicky being able to help us insert these and get these webinars cropped and get them down to a reasonable time. But it's the first couple days, those weeks and those months that matter. But the most effective ones do a little bit different. They extend the program through 90 days, right? 6 months, in some cases even longer. You have to have a plan. What is it that people are doing? How are they bringing their new people? We have people that, follow it to the T, as Mark said. Others, they want to create problems for themselves. They want to go ahead and start projecting what responses people are going to have. Now, look, speaking of that, we talk about this all the time, a communication class. I could have 50 people jump in here and talk about what that class has done for them. It's not a normal class that you've seen over the years. If we're going to teach something different here about onboarding, then you got to realize we're teaching something different about communication. Not the same kind of language, scripts, or procedures that you've been taught over the last 30 years. This class is different. It teaches you how to effectively run your business. And that means in two things. One, in communicating, and two, in organization of your business. You have to specify what, when, and how each onboarding phase is going to happen. Right?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is important. Define your goals and objectives. This is the plan you lay out. You have to define these things. Community member engagement and support are key drivers in onboarding programs. There are goals and objectives that need to be considered. And we said this just a minute ago. Our job is to make sure the company is surviving and thriving. The company's end goal is to increase retention rates and shorten the time it takes for a new member to be truly productive. If that's the company's goal, obviously the bottom line is to make it an effective company. So to do this, the following is necessary. 1, create a welcoming support environment for your members. Are you doing that? Are you calling someone and introducing every new person that you bring in? Well, first of all, you got to go back to, are you bringing new people in? And if you're not, you've got to make sure that you are marketing. And that marketing is what you do to get your information in front of people. You can't control the result. You can only control your activity. But if we provide the tools, the second thing, the resources and logistical information, the member needs to navigate. That's what we did with the document. You have to familiarize the member to the culture. What does that really mean? It's what I just said. It is making the phone call to introduce them to people, a couple of people, making sure they understand what everybody's doing. Everybody should have the document. Everybody should be following the procedure. That's part of the culture that look, you have a car wash. Do you want to go to, you have to have your car done tremendous, you want it for this wonderful event you're going to have on Saturday night, and you really want this car done absolutely perfect, polished, spotless. So do you want to take it over to a high school event where they're raising money, or do you want to go to a professional car wash, have it done, and make sure it's right? It's nice to contribute and help someone, but if it's a special event, I'm sure you're going to want to go to the car wash. Why? Because it does the same thing every time without mistakes. Everybody and every piece of that car wash is doing the same thing over and over again. If you're going to reinvent the wheel, then you're not following a procedure. Unless you want to take your team and say, this is wrong. Now we're going to create a whole new environment by creating a new document and a new procedure. So come follow me, but don't worry about this other one. See, if you do that, you're not really, well, you could do it. I mean, there's no reason not to do it, except you won't be successful. It'll take you twice as long to get it done. And who knows, whatever your experience is. If you haven't made a minimum of $5,000 a month consistently in this business, you really should not be trying to lead people down a road to do what you think is right. So if you've read through these things that are on, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, Joe, and basically what you're talking about is having a system, saving yourself time, energy, and money. How do you do that? You follow the system, what you've gone over so far. If you follow that, you follow the document, you're going to be right on point. Other than that, like I said, you're going to create twice as much time, twice as much work, and probably spend twice as much money that you don't have to spend to do that.
Absolutely. You got to set goals and expectations for your new member. Now, here's what that means. Let's assume, let me give you an example. You bring a new member in, and Mary is a brand new member. Mary doesn't know what to do. What do? The first thing you do is you welcome her to the company. You bring her over to another person to introduce them to the company, and another person, and maybe even a third person. You guide them through their back office so they can see events, where they take place, and so on. You walk them through it. Now, the document does this as well. Shows them where to go first. But the first thing that you need to do with that document is not to spend an hour with Mary on the telephone walking her through everything. Give her the basics verbally, welcome her, spend a good half hour introducing her to certain people. And that introduction, by the way, should not be, the person you introduce them to, telling them and asking them all about their life. It is welcome to the company. Congratulations. I'm glad you're aboard with us. Just follow the procedures and you'll be fine. That's the conversation. Now, it'll get into a little bit more than that, but do not spend more than 5 minutes on that introduction. Then another person, a few minutes, another person. So if you spend, maybe 30 minutes with a few introductions, getting them familiar with the culture, with the other people, with the process, then you go and you tell them, here's what I want you to do. I've just sent you this document. The first couple of steps show you how to go to your back office, how to get over to your wallet, how to set a few things in motion. I'll call you back in an hour. Or can you get that done today and I'll see you tomorrow? Whatever the schedule allows for that new person. Maybe they can't work right now, but let's assume they can. I want you to accomplish that and call me back if you have any problems. But I have to go, but I want you to get that done. That's setting the goals here. The expectation is that they follow the procedure and they do it on their own. Now, if you stay on the phone with that person for an hour and you make a decision that you're going to walk them through what they're supposed to be doing on their own, remember, you want this new person to follow because it's a system. Everybody's got to learn the system. But if you decide, well, the heck with this procedure, I'm going to stay on the phone with this person because they sound nice and we're talking and I'll walk them through it. Instead, you're not following the system. You're going to teach them that that's what they have to do. And they're not going to be able to do it. They're brand new. Suppose that first day they brought their friend in. How in the world do you think they're going to get on to that document and go help their person go through a half hour walking them through. They don't even have to do it themselves. They need to study. So they do it on their own. And you teach them, go to the document, and I want you to do step 1 and step 2, and I'll call you back in an hour. Can you work within the next hour? Yes, I can. Or no, I can't. I can't do it till 1. Great. I'll call you back at 2. That's teaching a person to fish. That's teaching them to do what you did. Ensure new members receives coaching and mentoring. That's what I just said about introducing them. And it all begins before day 1. Putting together and delivering a new member package. We have done that. Make sure your directors are on board. Here's what that means. A director is someone that you take a person to help them get on board, to maybe a 3-way call prior to them being a member. That's what we call a director, a person who directs the activity. But you've got to, look, I know when I bring a person to Mark, I know what he does. Why? We're on board with it together. When Shirley brings somebody to Mark or myself, she knows what's going to happen on that call. Colleen, the same thing. Craig, we have a new person who's just, went to work. I've known Craig a long time. But he saw this opportunity here and said, I'm not letting this get by people. This is really important for people. And he went to work. And guess what? Introduced us to all the people. Not just me, Mark. Couldn't get me, couldn't get Mark, gets me, and vice versa. But make sure that he introduces these people. And make sure they have the document. Make sure they're following a plan. To make sure that the people that you are going to introduce them to or use them as a 3-way call, make sure everybody's on board. Make sure that the person you introduce them to has the document and that they know exactly what to do. Make sure they know it's a system. I mean, that makes sense, right? Make sure everybody knows. That's what I just said. How to coach and mentor. If you're going to use a director for that reason, then make sure they know what they're doing. Okay, number 2, engagement, engagement, engagement. Engaging and empowering new members is a vital step. Well, how do you do that? We're going to talk about that. You have to engage that person the first day. We just said that. You've got to give them that homework right away and guide them. Do they understand what this company is about, the values and the mission statement? Do they know? Do they really know what's going on? Do they know why we pay it forward? I'm hesitating here. I'm hoping people are reading these slides. Provide key insights into their role and how to fit into the organization. That's what we've been talking about. You've got to get your people engaged. You introduce them. You take them to the document. You give them the work to do and continue to talk to them afterwards to move them to the next step. How many people are working with a buddy? If the buddy is the sponsor that you brought in, that's great. I know that Craig and Mark have bonded. I know that Craig and I have bonded more from past experiences now in this company. We're working together more diligently, I guess the word is. Bring new members onto the team is like introducing your boyfriend or girlfriend to your parents for the first time. You want them to feel wanted and accepted. I mean, it's amazing, Mark, that all this stuff is here. I didn't make this up. I didn't write this document, by the way. This webinar here. I didn't write this. I took this from a company that onboards properly. This is a teaching from a company. Now, we made some adjustments, obviously. Look, a good first step is doing a quick introduction with the team. So I don't know about it. I don't necessarily say, here's a buddy you can work with, but I introduce them and I have them exchange. I know this. Colleen and Vicky have exchanged phone numbers. I don't know how much work they do together, but I know that they got the good feeling about each other and they communicate. That's just one example. All right. Now, this is a tough one for most people. Discuss and set career goals together. The buddies can do that. That's not the responsibility of the director. Now, if you brought a new person in and they're comfortable with that, that's fine. It is a difficult thing to do, is to sit down. But there's a way to do it without feeling threatened. 60% of companies indicated they don't set any milestones or concrete goals for their new members. So whose responsibility is that? That's really a key thing, Mark. It really is. It's really, I think most people, look, 60% of all companies, they don't set milestones. That's the company itself. But if we work together on a buddy system, you can talk to one another and say, hey, what are your goals? It's not like you have to be their boss. I had somebody a week ago tell me that they were doing that on a first introduction interview. Before the person was even in, they were asking the prospect about their goals and dreams. And I said, I would hang up on you. I would hang up on you. If you called me with a project and you wanted me to look at it and you started asking me about my goals and dreams and where do I see it, forget it. I don't even know you. I'm not going to do that. And we teach this in the class, that all that wrong teaching when you introduce people. But you work together, you partner up with someone and start talking to one another as a buddy and say, hey, you know what my goals are here? Not write down and say, look, you're accountable to me and give me your goals. And no, talk to one another. You know, we live in a society now that really requires much more communication. Unfortunately, a lot of people are doing it through Skypes and, you know, chat rooms and so on, which still puzzles me. This one-on-one voice communication, to talk to one another, find a partner to discuss these things with, define your goals and expectations, tell the other person what your dreams are, what you want to fulfill here, what you want to get done, and how can I do that with this company, and work that out. And then get your so-called upline or mentors or directors to help you get to those goals. Look, more importantly, discuss and set career goals with the member early on so the personal goals and company goals are aligned. You can do that with the person you are partnering up with. And you don't have to be the boss. They don't have to be the boss. You can discuss it together. This is the time when you bond with somebody, not prior to registering with the company. That is taught throughout the industry. It's so wrong. Try to bond with somebody. Like I said, people that try to bond with me early on, I hang up on them. I don't need a new friend until I get to the company and start understanding the culture. Actively manage and give feedback. Your new members want to become productive quickly. Again, let me refer you back to the document. That gets them started in the productivity process. And look what it says. You may think that means stuffing new people with as much information as possible and doing it as quickly as possible, but that type of onboarding overload does not produce positive results. Keep that in mind. Don't sit for an hour going over everything and let them, give them the chunks to do, chunks of activity to do, a little bit at a time. Instead, pace the training to match the member's learning ability. I mean, that only makes sense, right? Well, this is really key. I mean, people should be rewarded verbally, at least. Congratulations for doing a good job. If someone gets through the process and they're starting to progress, they need to be recognized. We talked to Craig the other day. He's going to be on the Breakfast Club, I think, next week with us. For recognition, to show what he's doing and to help you, to show you exactly how he did this. Same thing with Roland. First day, Roland brought 12 people in. 12 people, first day. We have a guy on Craig's team that brought over 100 people himself. And Craig will explain that, how that was done. It was an entire teamwork process. They worked together, helping people in the process. It's amazing. There you go. Number 3, offer ongoing education and support. This is what we do. Why do you think we have the Breakfast Club? Ongoing education. They have a call within the company, regardless of us. We're like in addition to, but the company has ongoing education. This is what, Mark, you want to talk about that, because this is critical to understand that this is the most productive and lucrative part of online business is education.
You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, it's the number one product online across the world, education. And if you remember, Joe, what did Einstein say? That education is not just the learning of facts, but the training of the mind, which means that a lot of people in this business need a mindset change. That's what we offer. And you know, there's a class, there's one tonight, and I believe there's one tomorrow night as well. So, you know, the company is doing their part, and we're doing our part here at the Breakfast Club. And these are tools that you have to help you and your people and to help your business grow. You can't grow it without education. You have to know how to do these things. And this is why we do what we do.
I can't say enough here again about learning the skills, the Breakfast Club, learning the skills at the communication class. Some of you are basically ignoring that, maybe thinking that, you know, this class isn't important. Mark and I talk about it all the time. It's an important step to progress. If it hasn't worked for you all this time, as Mark said, Einstein said, it's the training of the mind to think. The class is about thinking. That's what it's all about. It is all about thinking and thinking differently than you have that got you to where you are today, which is most of you, 98%, have not achieved what they wanted. I don't say that insultingly. It's a known fact. You put 1,000 people on the call, and 9,800 of them have not achieved what they wanted in this industry. It's mind-boggling to me. So there's where we are now. We're going to continue with part 2 next week. So I can't stress enough that as we end this session today, that as Mark just said, education is not the learning of facts. It is the training of the mind to think. So what you should do today is think about what you saw here today. Some of it was not new. But are you organizing your day? Are you taking the day, the morning, with the most important tasks, getting them out of the way? What are those tasks? Are you going to bed at night and writing down what you have to accomplish today? That's business. That's a good business tactic. That's what good business people do, is they write down their schedule for the day. we make sure that our day starts. Now, it could mean that your day tomorrow and today is not starting with your home business. Might not be able to do that till Thursday. Maybe you start working Thursday, but get yourself in order for when you start that day, whether it's 6 at night or 8 o'clock in the morning. What is it that you're going to do first? And the mornings should be set aside for the income producing activities, the most important tasks of the day. What are you doing during that time to produce an income? What activities are you doing? Shuffling papers doesn't do it. Filing doesn't do it. Getting organized doesn't do it. If you're 1 hour you take and you say, this is my income generating activity, what is it that you're doing? 90% of your time should be spent looking for a new partner or member. 90 during that day's work. So if you have an hour to work that day, just 1 hour to work, 54 minutes should be spent in looking for a new person. In other words, marketing, putting your information in front of people, communicating with people, following up with people, and sharing the information with people. Now, here's the steps to that as we end. Assuming you have someone to share the information with, and you send information to them, the logical next step is to find out if they actually looked at the information. If you do not have an autoresponder like Aweber or Tools Rock or anything like that, where a person fills something out on a contact sheet, on a capture page, then you don't know if they looked at it, right? So that would mean that you need to call or email or Skype or something and follow up and find out if they looked. Now, once we get the autoresponder in place, that will tell us that's coming. But for now, you've got to follow up. And let's assume you follow up and they say, I did see it. I looked at it. It's very interesting. Let's assume they want more information. Well, you have to lay out your plan. What is it that you did, first of all, to get them to look? We, in the letter, have placed, in the document, the welcome and getting started document, we've placed a couple of letters in there to send to people. They want more information. What do? Well, you can direct them to a teaching from JC on how the actual comp plan works. You can direct them to what a cooperative business looks like by listening to Dr. Needham. Now, that one's an hour long. That's a Breakfast Club event a couple of weeks ago, which we now have close to, I think, to 800 views on that. And obviously, that's an important document for people. And in my opinion, it's one of the most important because of the fact that most people don't know what a cooperative business is. That's me. I did not know that until this company. Now I understand it. And that particular document, if a person wants the next step, I'm not ready to register with you and join you now unless I need more info. Well, there are, like I said, there's a few steps. Give them the info. If they have looked at something, if they have watched a presentation, the next step is to take them to a director who knows what they're doing. We saw that in here. Knows what they're doing. They're on board with the process. They know that their job is to direct that new prospect to registration, to help them get there. Not by telling them how wonderful the company is, but by finding out, is that person a good fit? That's our problem. It's mind-boggling to me, Mark, the three-way calls that go on in this industry, and all of them that I know of outside of the class, the communication class, are trying to entice people with facts. Look how wonderful we are. This is what we do. It's unbelievable. You should join us. Don't use a director that does that. Have someone, a professional person who knows how to ask the right questions, who knows the process. And I can tell you, you're not going to even know that process until you get into the communication class and understand what a real director does during a conversation. And it should take no more than 10 minutes. We say 5 to 7, but 10 minutes is acceptable, not 30 minutes.
Yeah, Joe, let me address something there for a minute because it's very important. First of all, there's a number of people come to the Breakfast Club, and what you have to understand is that the Breakfast Club is basically it's an educational live webinar, and we are live. Some people are asking, are we live? We are live, and it's held every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. And basically each week we'll have either Joe or myself, but we're a group of passionate professionals, and we have special guests like Dr. Needham, like JC, and other people as well, to teach people how to operate a successful business working from home. So this is why we encourage you to join us and to tell your group to come to the Breakfast Club. And you know, all they have to do is go to www.thebreakfastclub.ws, and it'll direct you right to this. And then once you do that, then you'll be on our list that you will get, something that will tell you when it is and basically what's coming up on it. And then then if you miss that, you can direct your people to go to Joe's YouTube channel, and you type in, you go to YouTube, type in Joseph Shoup, and you'll see Joe's picture there, and you click on the Breakfast Club and the video, and you can look at the video of your choice of past Breakfast Clubs that we have. And in addition to that, what's also very important is the communication class. Why do we keep talking about the communication class? This is the reason. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. You always hear Joe say that just because you're talking doesn't mean that they're listening. Communication is very important in any business. And that's why we take terminology perception has to make sense. Because the terminology that you use with a person, trying to find an interested person, getting them interested in your business, if it doesn't, it gives them a perception as to who you are, what your business is. If it doesn't make sense, they are not going to join your business. So that's why I always encourage you to get with Joe, make an appointment, and take that communication class. It'll change your life. It'll change your business. And like I said, I've taken the Dale Carnegie Sales and Human Relations course, which was one of the biggest ones in the world. But then when I took this class, I said, oh my goodness, I thought I knew something. Now I know. It just comes to me just like that, second nature. If I'm out at the grocery store, somebody starts a conversation, I'm using the things I learned in the communication class, and it works. So I'm just saying that to encourage you to do that and have your group do that, because it's very, very important. So I just wanted to reiterate that to everyone, Joe.
Yeah, and we're considering doing the class live again. I always did it live for the last 18 years. This class has existed. It's updated all the time with new, up-to-date material, and we always did it live. It was a live event. And that means in person at times with companies, and then online live. So it's possible we'll do that. In the meantime, it's right now you can just register for it you can see that in the document. You just make you can email me at the Breakfast Club broadcast @gmail.com and say, I'm interested in that class. What do I do? And say you can take it alone by yourself. If you work all day and you want to take it at night, you can do that. You can schedule it and you can take it at night, because there is a recorded version of the exact class, a live class that we did. And so I encourage you to do that, because all of this will make much more sense to you when you do that. Because most of you who have not been there don't know how to talk to people. I don't mean that insultingly. It's just that the industry taught you something wrong. Mark, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I had recently, over the last year, I was at a little meeting, casual meeting with, let's just say, executives of a company. And it was new, and we were all talking about the company. And we happened to be outside at a coffee house, and we were outside here in Arizona, and people were talking, and there happened to be a couple next to us listening to our conversation for about an hour, and everybody left, and this couple started talking to me. I was the only one left, except there was one executive who had wandered off, and I was there with this couple, and of course I'm going to take that opportunity to market right there, get information in front of them. Now, the average person would have blabbed away about the company. I know they heard stuff. They sounded very interested. And by the way, this is not this company I'm talking about. And I'm talking to the person, and they have an interest. They have an interest in what they heard. They were a little excited and said, hey, I know about that industry, and I said, well, here's what we need to do. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. I wrote it down, handed it to them. I put my head down with my notepad, and I said, how can I reach you? What is your email address? This is a technique you use. You put your head down and you just look at the paper with your pen, and you don't look up until they give you the address. And that took place. And 99% of the time, a person will do that if you use the proper technique. So I get the address. The next thing you know, a person who was sitting at our table walks over. I introduced them to these people, these prospects, and this person went on blabbing and blabbing and blabbing away about the company. I was ready to, well, I don't know what word I'm going to use. I probably shouldn't. I was like blown away that this person was blabbing away to this prospect, basically giving them a presentation right there after I just established we were going to communicate. Why? This person had never had the class, didn't understand what took place there, and thought this was the perfect opportunity to go away. And I could see that people in their minds, they were somewhere else. Husband and wife. I could see, Mark, that they were somewhere else. Why? Because just because you're talking don't mean they're listening. And this person was just blabbing and blabbing away about the process, the industry, how we work, and so on. Now, how many communications do you think I had with that person after that call, after that event right there? How many of you think that I talked to those people again? You can just understand there's no reason to put an answer in there. They didn't respond to me again after that. I couldn't get them. Even though I sent them information, I couldn't even get them to respond. They already knew from someone else's point of view what had taken place, what the company was about, and they were not interested at that point because they didn't get the proper presentation and probably thought that's what they were going to have to do. One of these typical companies that they just, blab away about what it is they do. Anyway, the point is, in the class, you learn not to do that. I lost probably a good person, maybe not, because somebody decided to blab away when they shouldn't have. And that's what you learn. You are coming up on 4th of July. How many of you are going to be at parties when you're going to want the opportunity to talk to people and tell them about what you're doing and how you can help them and so on with this company? You will make the biggest mistake of the day if you engage in conversation about this at your local party. If you don't know how to do it, if you don't know how to get the information and talk about it later, you're going to be in trouble, and you're going to be embarrassed, like you have been in the past, about talking too much and having people wanting to run away from you, or telling you it sounds like a pyramid in front of others and you don't know how to handle it. My suggestion is you listen to Mark and get yourself engaged. Learn to communicate. Learn the techniques of a conversation. Learn the parts of a conversation. Learn how to bring them to a director. Learn what the director should be doing. There is only one place you can get this. It's called the Networking Communication class. We teach it, and we've been teaching it for 18 years. So with that, my friend, hopefully people understand how to that what they're doing. As you said it in the beginning, I'll finish with that, is be careful the direction you're going. You might end up where you're headed.
Okay. Very simple. Again, I remind you, there is a call tonight, a company call tonight, and you want to get on that and get your people there. It's very important. It's been said that, everybody that comes to the calls, those are the ones that really get what they need to get, as opposed to maybe coming once a month or once a year or whatever like that. And let me say this in closing. We spend a lot of time on what we do for the Breakfast Club family, and we look at them as family. And because we want them to know what we know, it took a lot of years to learn and a lot of frustration, because there are a lot of people still teaching it the wrong way. But if you want to get taught the right way, bring your people to the Breakfast Club. We don't charge for the Breakfast Club. And you get great speakers and great information. And again, there is a charge for the communication class, but it's undercharged for the value. Class was $450 at one time, but we make it affordable for our family members, because it's not about the money. It's about you getting to learning of those facts and getting your mind right to do your business, to become successful. And I always say a successful person is one who took advantage of an opportunity. And right here, you have an opportunity of a lifetime to change your life, to change the people that you love lives, and change people's in the world's lives. I always say that the change that you want to see in the world first has to be in you. And that's what we're here for. We're doing things now that we've never done before. We're seeing lives being changed that we've never seen before. We're seeing people make money that they never made before. And you have that same opportunity, and we just want you to take advantage of that. So with that being said, peace and blessings to you. Come back next week for part 2. Get on that call tonight and introduce the people that you bring in to the people that know what they're doing and involved in it, because it'll help you become successful. Any closing words that you have, Joe? Or you can go ahead and close us out.
We're good. Just as Mark says, peace and blessings, everyone. Thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next week. See you tonight on the calls, but we'll for sure see you next week at the Breakfast Club. Good night, everyone.